Hi, everybody. Rick DiClemente with Astrology Unplugged. Welcome to Star Self Astrology. It's the name of my website. Tonight, we'll be focusing especially on Pluto, and I've already seen it, and Saturn. And since Pluto is at 0 degrees of fixed signs affecting Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, Aquarius, likewise, Saturn is at 0 degrees of Pisces. So it's having its effect on 0 Pisces, all the mutable signs, 0 Virgo, 0 Sag, 0 Gemini. I've been seeing a lot. I've been feeling it. I felt it going in. I felt it for about a week before it went in. Every sign's different. Every person is different. Some of us are more sensitive than others, but it was pretty rough for about a week as it was going in. And now that it's gone in, I'm watching my friends who have Z planets at 0 and 1 degree fixed. So you have to become familiar with those terms. Not a whole lot, but just a couple. Fixed signs are Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio. They're called fixed signs because when a planet gets to 0 in one of them, it's hitting all of them at 0, square or opposition or conjunction. So that's why. So tonight I'm going to be focusing on what Pluto's doing at 0 Aquarius, for the Aries, for the Taurus, for the Gemini, etc. So we're going to get right to it. This is episode, I believe, 312. I looked it up today. We're approaching our 7th anniversary. Hard to believe. Seven long years. Anyhow, good to see you, Rick. So what I'm going to do is one of the nice special things that Saturn, that solar fire does for us. It allows us to do this. It allows us to show, let me get this right. There's so many buttons nowadays on my end, you don't see them all. And they're really easy to get confused. Okay, so I'm asking the computer to just show me where Pluto is and just show me where Saturn is. The other planets are there, but we're not going to look at them. And that's really good because it keeps it simple for your eyeball to see what's happening. So, wow, when you're examining planets, one of the main ways you can do this, and I know that it's very confusing, just hang in there with me. One of the best ways to examine a target planet or a target sign is to put that sign at 0 degrees on the ascendant. So this is how astrologers do their daily horoscopes, monthly horoscopes, yearly horoscopes. If it's a chapter on Aries, they put 0 Aries right here. This is the first 30 degrees of Aries, and they place the planets around. Then they make their predictions on what those planets are going to do to those various areas. Next, we'll move the Taurus up to here. Taurus will be here. This will be the 30 degrees of Taurus. These two will shift over one, and we'll go around the circle that way. And that's what's happening. That's how we do it. That's how we see it. It's not simple, but you're going to find common themes repeated. Okay? First house themes, second house themes, third house themes, fourth house themes. They're all very similar per sign, even though they have different signs, but the house positions have common themes. So for now, we're all experiencing Pluto in Aquarius. And we've had a lot of weeks now, 3-4 weeks. We've talked a lot about what happened when Pluto spent its 15 years in Capricorn, and it went into Aquarius last week. And when these planets change signs, it's a big deal. This is like you would say, Godzilla puts his first footstep down on the cement. Boom. That's exactly what it's like astrologically. Boom. It has a big impact on the whole zodiac. A big deal. Now, when you have planets close to that cusp, you are more in line with having a very powerful impact. I have a very good friend that has the Sun and Neptune at 0 degrees. Sun and Neptune at 0 degrees of Scorpio. So that's a right angle. So she's getting hit real big. I gave her months of warning, talked to her about it. She's breaking through it okay, but it's been heavy duty, just like I told her. Now, if you have a planet at 15 degrees Aquarius or 7 degrees of Leo, they don't get hit as hard because they're not sitting by the doorway. The doorway is right there, right there, right there, and right there. So when we look at all Aries people in general, that's what I'm talking about now. So for all Aries people and things and pets and stores and cars and everything that's Aryan, it's not only going through a new Pluto in Aquarius energy. Pluto in Aquarius is the energy in the sign. The energy is the Pluto. The sign is what type of energy. So Pluto in Aquarius, we've talked a lot. Liza's talked a lot. Rick's talked a lot on this show about what Pluto in Aquarius is going to do that's different from it having left Pluto in Capricorn. In several months, it's going to stop. It's going to go back into Capricorn for a few months and come back into Aquarius and stay there for 20 years. In Saturn's case, Saturn's going to go in and go back and forth for 28 months. So it's only going to be 28 months. That's typical for Saturn, which operates rather like clockwork. Pluto stays in a sign anywhere from 13 to 30 because of its big oval orbit. It stays 13 years in a sign or 30 over in, believe, in Gemini. In Sag, it's like 13, 15. Gemini is 30 years because of its oval orbit. So some signs it stays longer. So we know that Pluto in general for everybody is having an effect on Aquarian items. So in general, you're going to see what we talked about over the last several weeks. More of a sense of brotherhood. You're going to see people trying to come together because we're starting to see the drastic effects that Pluto left us with after destroying so many of our institutions in its 15 years in Capricorn. It's real clear what it did. We said it was going to do it, and it did it. And it's not finished yet, just because it's gone into Aquarius and goes back into Capricorn. It's not finished yet. Plus, the two signs, Aquarius and Capricorn, are somewhat similar. So anyhow, for Aquarian people, I'm sorry. For Aries people, the following reading is for Aries people. For Aries people, Pluto will be inhabiting their 11th house. This is the 11th house. And I didn't get the one with the numbers on it. But this is the first house, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, etc. The houses never change. The signs change, but the 11th house is always in this area. 12th house is always in this area. First house is always here. Okay? I didn't get the right screen, which would have shown us the house positions. So for all Aries people, Pluto will be having an 11th house impact. The 11th house is greatly misunderstood because it's known as the house of friends and groups and activities, and it's known as the house of hopes and wishes. And it's taken really glibly. And what I have found with my deep research lately is all the fixed houses, or it's called succeedent houses, which is the second houses of each sector. All of the succeedent houses are very underrated. So when they talk about Pluto, or when they talk about the 11th house being the house of your hopes and wishes, it means your hopes and wishes. That's what I have found. It's not lighthearted. It's a big deal. It's about the real deep hopes you've had for a long, long time. And sometimes planets go through the 11th and people get activated in that part of their life that they've been waiting for a long time. They've been waiting to get published. They've been waiting to get on stage. They've been waiting for whatever. It can be good or bad. But the 11th house is a very important, strong house. It's the higher octave of the business house. The 10th house is the house of business, jobs. 11th house is business communities, like the American Heart Association. It's the associations that are made up of the businesses. So it's very high dimensions, high expectations. So what Aries might find during this time, and remember, Aries is not an Aquarian type sign. Aries is very much, I'm going to do it myself. It's very similar to Aquarius, which is I'm going to do it myself, but yet Aquarius does it with the group. Aries doesn't understand what it means to be doing it with the group. Aries understands I'm going to do it my way. So when we mix all that together, this is very hard to do. These are very good exercises to do for beginning students or intermediate or advanced. This kind of translating is not simple. So for Aries going through Pluto in their 11th, what they're going to see, Aries are going to be more willing to work in groups, to be part of a group, to join a group, especially ones with, I mean, Aquarius is huge for environmental groups. I have an Aries friend who's working on large scale, huge national scale environmental stuff, came out of nowhere with a very powerful company. That's Pluto. So I told him this was coming, and it came almost precisely when Pluto got to 0 degrees of Aquarius. So while Pluto's in the 11th house, just like any other planet, you can use it rightly or you can use it wrongly. The number one way you use it wrongly is to use power over others, to abuse your power. And then your friends will turn against you. Your groups and your associations will turn against you and they'll spit you out. So if you're going to have some 11th house doings, it's very advised that you're learning how to work with a group, because group activity is not an Arian thing. It's a very good time for you to learn more about it and to gain your strength from being around others. Don't try to do it all yourself. Okay? So that's the real good thing about it. And there's every reason to believe that you Aries people, who are known for being dreamers, and you know what you're dreaming for, you know what you want, you're going for it. There's every reason to believe that you can attain it now during your next 20 years. It's not going to happen overnight. Every reason to. But Aries has a propensity for selfishness. If you pull out the selfishness card now, you're going to be stopped. If you abuse your power, you will be stopped, and it will not be nice. You will be stopped. If you try to play along, one of the gang, one of the team will support you. That's the main theme. Now, this is going to be there so long, next 20 years. We'll talk about this plenty of time during the next 20 years, but that's in general what's happening with Aries personalities. Now, the same Aries personalities are experiencing Saturn in Pisces in the 12th. So you take the planet in the sign in what house? The 12th. So Aries stays here because we're still examining Aries. So while we're examining Pluto in Aquarius in the 11th, we're also looking at Saturn and Pisces in the 12th. This is a very good time for Aries people to establish, that's the Capricorn, to establish their spiritual connection, their spiritual practices, their spiritual classes, courses, seminars. The 12th house is nothing to laugh about. It's the most misunderstood house of all. The 12th house is where you do your private inner connection with God. That's what it is. You could call it a million things. It has many bad names. It has many bad raps to it. The house of jail, the house of sickness, the house of your own undoing. It's very misunderstood. But really what the 12th house is about going past the non-self, going past the self and riding via the non-self. So like Christ said, unless you're a child, you can't be reborn. Or as Ram Dass said, when you are nobody, then you can really become somebody. So it sounds very confusing. It's a very Buddhist type of place. It's all about getting away from the myth of the self, that the self can do anything and that you do everything through fusion with the greater self. So it's not an easy thing to talk about, and you will find this whole thing will become clearer to you as I start to rotate the chart. I have a little frog in my throat from this meditation, so please bear with me. So now we go to the next sign of Taurus by going here, and we're picking the wheel style, which is Taurus, and there you go. So now we're examining Taurus in the first house, 0 Taurus through 30 Taurus. You notice these planets have shifted up. They're going to go counterclockwise. They're going to go clockwise until we come back to here. So for you Taurus people, you are experiencing Pluto in Aquarius like everybody is, but you're experiencing Pluto in Aquarius in your 10th house, and you're experiencing Saturn in Pisces in your 11th house. This is how they write horoscopes. So when Pluto's at the top of the chart, it's just like it looks. It's really powerful. It's at the top of the chart. This is the top of the world. This is the most social place. This is the highlight of your business. This is the time for Taurus people to make their move socially, business-wise, getting the cameras out there, being in the press conferences, getting on stage, getting on magazines. You're going to be focused on it when your planets are at the top of the chart. So if you're attempting some big move in your company, fine, but don't try to do it secretly. You've got to be your cards on the table. You don't do anything secretly when the planets are at the top, because that's where the sun shines. And that's where scandals are exposed. So for Tauruses, this is a time to make your big plans for big moves ahead. Either it's you as a position in the company or you taking ownership of a company. All that stuff's fine. And it's got to have Aquarian traits to it. So you can't go forward like a typical Taurus. A typical Taurus is me, my money, my stuff. You can't do that in Aquarian energy. You try me, my money, my stuff with Aquarian energy, and the rest of your group's going to shoot you down. Aquarius is about we work together. We work together. Finally, the Earth is going through a lot of very bad things right now, but one of the great things that we're going through is the fact that we got out of Capricorn and we're getting into Aquarius, and Aquarius lends itself towards group working together. And that's our answer. That's how we're going to answer all these big problems that were unearthed in the Pluto and Capricorn phase. So once again, it's very good. No one likes money more than Tauruses. You should never try to steal a dollar bill from a Taurus. You will get your hand slapped. Or worse, they like their money, and they should like their money, and they work hard, and they know how to enjoy their money. But you got to really take clarity here. The symbol here is clear. You cannot turn this into my stuff. The basis of Taurus is my stuff. My stuff won't work with a planet in Aquarius that represents our stuff. Very clear. So if you're going into your my stuff period and you are not permitting yourself to share, you got trouble ahead. Don't tell me I didn't tell you, because I did warn you. Aquarius means we got 10 loaves of bread. We share that with 9 neighbors. That's what Aquarius works as. That's why it's the brightest, the most promising sign there is. And that's what we need. And you'll get your loaf of bread. Don't worry about it. But you're going to have to start to thinking on bigger boundaries, bigger issues. Taurus is about me and my small home, my hobbit hole. Aquarius is us and our foundation, us and our community. So be forewarned. Pluto will help you. It will always bring you powerful people. No matter what you do during the next 20 years, your business is going to inadvertently get associated with other powerful businesses, powerful books, powerful movies, powerful concepts, powerful seminars. But it's all based on you starting to see that you're part of the group. If you try to pull away from this me and my group, blessings to you. You saw what happened to Hitler, the Taurus. At the same time, that Pluto is affecting the 10th house, Saturn will be affecting the 11th house. So Saturn is really good in the 11th house. It's really good for joining groups. It's really good for giving a voice to your hopes and your wishes, things you've been thinking about for a long time, starting to build the bricks, starting to build the foundations. So you have a very public next 20 years coming to Taurus. Very public. And Taurus doesn't necessarily like that. They like being private. But that's too bad, because it's time for you to be public. States that are Tauruses, marriage that are Taurian, all things that are Taurian are going to be experiencing this. So this can be very good. I just gave you the secret. Don't try to make it mine, and you'll be okay. Make it share, and you'll be okay. Make it mine, and you're going to have a lot of trouble. And it's going to hit you right in your weak spot, which was your wallet. That's what Pluto will do. That's the weak spot for Tauruses. Moving up to Gemini now. Wheel style Gemini select. All right, see the planets are shifting. Now here's the Gemini area in the first house. So it's being examined. So for all Gemini people, Pluto will be going through their 9th house, Saturn through their 10th. Very exciting. Okay, why? Because Pluto is really intellectual in Aquarius. It wants to put the big picture together mentally of all the stuff so it can figure out quantum mechanics and atoms and all that. So it can, and it's in a sun sign that's the most curious of the zodiac. So this is a tremendous opportunity for Geminis over the next 20 years to gain tremendous intellectual advancement. The problem is Gemini doesn't want to go deep. They want to go across the water like a skittlebug. They don't want to go deep. Pluto wants to go deep. Well, next 20 years, you're going to go across the water and you're going to go deep. You're going to do both. Gemini is not built for it. It's not built for going deep, but this is the time for you to start to learn it. You're not going to be forced to. It's just going to happen in such a way that the opportunities will come that way, and you will see that that's what you need to do. So Pluto through the ninth is very strong. I've seen it many, many times. This is people going back to school. This is people getting a PhD. This is colleges. This is high schools. This is junior high. This is colleges. Third house, ninth house. Ninth house is colleges, online colleges, concrete mortar colleges, learning, etc., to advance your knowledge. Now, Gemini is not the type to learn to put together something eventually. That's Aquarius. Aquarius is different. Aquarius is everything it's learning, it's going to put into the big puzzle. But Gemini is going to learn very quickly during these 20 years that its natural interest in jumping over the fence, jump over the next fence. Hey, what's over the next fence? Ooh, what's over the next fence? Geminis are going to find that that's going to serve them very well. And the broader learning is going to really, really help them. You don't have to do broad learning when you want to do small learning, but you're going to do probably a bit of both. And I think it's going to be a very good time for Gemini. Just the what it's telling us, Gemini is used to doing things on a errand level, small community level, local magazines. So ninth house is big magazines, big institutions, governments, textbooks. So here comes iPhone. We'll welcome him aboard. While that's going on, and what that is all happening about, is to help you prepare a foundation for your job, your career. Here's the job and career. And you got Saturn and Pisces. So this intellectual gaining that you're doing for the next 20 years should really help you to gain and build bricks and build up your institution. And this is really all about putting your institution, your business in the limelight, let the light shine on it, and be proud of it. Now, one thing you notice here, it's not in Aries or Taurus. Saturn's in Pisces. So Saturn in Pisces is going to shove you towards working for the underdog, working for the have-nots. And Taurus is not the best sign working for the have-nots. They can be. Their nature is to work for their own. But like we saw earlier, you're going to be pushed again to working together with others. So I think all in all, the Taurus experience is going to be a rather good one. I really do. And not all of these will be. And these are not easy things to intermingle, because you have to put two signs, two houses, one sun sign, mix it all up while they're moving and while the other planets are moving. Okay, now we'll go into Cancer. Let's see here. Wheel style, Cancer. All right. So now we're looking at Cancer over here in the first house. And we see Pluto's over in the 8th. Saturn is in the 9th. And these houses are so different. I was talking with Rick the other day. He and I had an appointment. And I was talking about how I would like to have a additional book follow-up the exquisite zodiac in terms of how different all 12 signs are. There can be a whole book about how different Aries is from Taurus. I mean, a whole book on these Scorpios and these Sagittarius and these Gemini, and they're all so completely different. And if you had a soap opera, these characters that came on stage called Aries, Taurus, Gemini, they would be 12 unique independent people. We're really, really different from each other. That's one of the best things you can learn in astrology. If you're having trouble getting along with someone else who's not your sun sign, realize that they're not. If you're a Scorpio, other people can't stand a hot kitchen. If you're a Virgo, other people want a break. They don't want to hammer nails and boards all day. They want a break. If you're a Libra, not everybody wants to hang out at the country club. Every sign is different. Now, when we look at Cancer, what are we seeing here? And usually when you do this, it's very intriguing what you find. And remember, these concepts I'm giving you are going to pertain to the country too, because the United States is a Cancer. Okay? So this whole talk right now is about what's best for the USA to do, because we're a Cancer country. So is Canada. Well, we got Pluto in our 8th. We got Saturn in our 9th. Ooh. All right. Usually, most Cancers are not comfortable. I've seen plenty. But usually most of them are not comfortable digging in the 8th house, because the 8th house is not what is known as safe. The 8th house is a scary place. It's where shamans hang out. It's where Don Juan and Carlos Castaneda hang out. It's where the deep philosophies of Carl Jung hang out. So it's a very, very deep and dark place. Some Cancers are built for it. Some Cancers can handle it, and I've seen them do fine. A lot of Cancers don't like things that heavy, and they would prefer to stay closer to home, near the 4th house. So when Pluto is in Aquarius in the 8th house, what's happening to Cancers? Cancers are learning. This is really interesting. Cancers are learning. There are a lot of other people out there besides your family. There are a lot of people out there besides your family who have different needs than you do. And that's a shock to Cancer. Cancer's not made of that. This is one reason the USA is going through the trouble it is. We're very hung up on taking care of our own. We got a moon in Aquarius, so that does help, and some other things. But we can see what's on the slate for the next 20 years is we're going to be learning. Cancers and all Americans are going to be learning about other people's needs, other people's values. The real intriguing thing I've learned about the 8th house in the last several years, it's always related to the sign opposite or the house opposite. All houses are directly related to the nature of the house opposite. 5th house, 11th house, 10th house, 4th house, 3rd house, 9th house. They're related. Well, the 2nd house is very much related to a very popular subject in astrology, which is called self-worth. Self-worth is a great big deal when you're reading charts. The opposite of self-worth is our worth. Let's say I'm dating Marcia, hypothetically. The 8th house is, what do we feel like we're worth when we're together? How do I feel when she's with me? What do I let her do to my sense of self-worth? What does she do to let me affect her self-worth? So the 8th house can be a heavy duty place Because just like the second house is repairing my self-worth, the eighth house is, I'll take care of my own self-worth. Thank you very much. And I'll take your opinions, but let me work on my own. So the eighth house, you've all been in relationships and you've all seen that, man, no matter what you do, your self-worth is going to be impacted. It's going to be impacted by the nature of the relationship itself. So we see with Cancer, who's very much based on me hiding behind the safety of my family, not being allowed to, because now you're being opened up and you're becoming vulnerable to other people's self-worth. So what's happening with Cancer is this, and this will not be easy. Cancer will learn that they will do better with their own self-worth if they keep in mind that their self-worth is going to affect how other people feel about themselves. This is really right smack down in the middle. Bullet coming right out of the barrel. This is exactly what this means. Cancers will be better off the more they realize that they need to make things better off for others. It's that simple. The Cancer does not have the benefit to just hang back and say, I'm going to crawl under that rock sideways, take care of myself where I'm safe. No, it ain't going to happen. The eighth house won't let it. The eighth house is a ballsy house. It's a Scorpio house. It's intense. So is Aquarius. Aquarius is ballsy and it's all about others. So we see there's a lot of pressure on all things Cancer next 20 years. There's a lot of pressure on Cancer to go against their nature. Their nature is to take care of themselves. But if they broaden and include others, take care of myself and others, then everything else will get better. I hope that makes sense, but that's really important. And that's what's happening here. One of the nice things about this is one of the things that's going to help is the broadening of the philosophy. Saturn is in the ninth house in Pisces. And that's all about learning other nations' religious beliefs, learning other philosophies, learning about the Jewish religion, learning about India and the Hindus, etc., etc., etc. Pisces is about being unbounded. Unbounded. We're all children of God. That's Pisces. Pisces doesn't want to hear anything else. We're all children of God. We're all loved equally and included. This is not necessarily a Cancerian theme. So while Saturn spends 28 months in Pisces, that's going to really help you with your broadening of the Pluto through the eighth house. It's making sense to people? Good. Let's go fiddle daddle around the rest of the zodiac. All right. We're going to go into Leo. All right, here's Leo. Now you notice we're halfway around. Leo's here and Aquarius is now over here. So to learn about Leo, we're going to see Pluto affecting the seventh house and Saturn affecting the eighth. So for Leos to prosper during this time and make the best of it, Leos will be, there's no way around it. They're going to be forced to improve their relationships with everybody. Now, Leos can be very good with relationships with people. They can be. They're very socially smart with it kind of group. But what holds them back is if they happen to become too self-oriented, if they try this all about me stuff, it ain't gonna work. because the seventh house is not about me, me, me. Seventh house is about us, us, us. So if the first house is me and my identity, the seventh house is us and our identity. And Pluto is going to really be working on you all these 20 years to try to get you into relationships where you're thinking more about me plus you. Me plus you. I saw the most brilliant thing on TV the other night. It really seems simple, and it really is brilliant. He was talking about the number one reason relationships go wrong. And he's asking me, do you know what the number one reason is? And I'm going like 10, 15, I don't know, this and that and this. And it was really, really fascinating. And he said that, he or she, he said that the reason that our relationships go sour is because we stop going in there. Stop going in there. When you hear these new phrases that are catching your ear lately, these phrases about diving into something, going all out into something, and what he meant by that was, you come home from work, I want to dive into your stuff. What happened at work? What did you eat? Who did you see? I don't want to lay back and give you the feeling like I'm not really interested in your story. I'm not diving into your story. He was exactly right. Exactly right. And I start thinking about times that my girl comes home and I'm washed up in some kind of thing I'm thinking about, and I'm not really diving into her stuff. Well, the word I meant was leaning into. That's the phrase you're hearing. Leaning into. So you lean into them and everything will be all right. Then they're going to want to lean into you. Then that makes you feel somebody cares for you. But I thought it was just a brilliant way of looking at things and simplifying it. And since then, I've been doing better and better at leaning into her stuff. She's doing some things that aren't my thing and vice versa, but I can still appreciate them. And that shows her that somebody cares. So I thought it was really, really a good point. Okay, getting back to Linda. Where's Shelby? Shelby, they're waiting for me. Shelby. That's my black cat. Okay. All right, let's get back. Shelby's with us. All right. So the Leos are being encouraged to use their Aquarian energy, which is a creative group energy, which is really not much of a shift for them. The difference is Leo is about my creative energy and Aquarius is about our creative energy. So you're being encouraged to not just look at what you create, but to look at what we can create together. Also, I've learned this past year very clearly about the seventh house. In the old days, the seventh house, they beat the bush. That's all they talked about was relationships. It's not what it is. It's part of it. The seventh house has a lot to do with your ability to be a counselor. How do you counsel people? How do you do it? What ways do you use? What are you known as? What type of lawyer? What type of psychologist are you known as? Transits through the seventh house change all that. So it's very, very telling. So it's not just me and my relationship. That's part of it. Okay, up in the eighth house with Saturn in Pisces. This is very intriguing. This is very intriguing. You know what this means? Leo, Saturn, Pisces, eighth house. This means that whatever mate you have, a girlfriend, a wife, a husband, you are one. Gotta kid yourself, it won't work. You are one. You know, some couples is like my money, your money, and I paid here, you paid on this, and your couples is our money. Well, You can fight it out how you want to, but when the 8th house is triggered, it's our money. We're talking about our money. And that gets bigger than money. It becomes our values, the stuff that we value together. So in other words, are you really going to share or not? Are you going to share or not? And with Saturn and Pisces there's every reason. And with Pluto going through the 7th, there's every reason for Leos to make tremendous progress with these two signatures. You can make great, great progress if you're really ready to open your heart, lean into the other person, and share with them. It can be a wonderful time. It really can be. See, one of the things that we're facing now is the last 15 years, we've all been dealing with Pluto, dealing with cardinal signs. Well, we don't worry about that. Everybody lays back in the zodiac. Let the cardinal signs take care of everything. The Capricorns, the Aries, the Libras, the Cancers. But not now. It's in the fixed signs now. Thank God the cardinal signs are getting a break. The fixed signs are the ones that fix things. They organize things, they affix them, they concentrate them, they get them ready for disbursement later. So that's what's really stirring things up, because you can see immediately that the fixed signs are probably the least sign that's willing to change. What do you mean change? I'm busy here fixing things the way I want. Well, planets come along like Pluto and Saturn, talk about change. Okay. So let's move on to the next one. This should be very intriguing, Miss Shanahan. Let's take a look at the sign of Scorpio. Okay. Oh, I did mix. No, I got to go.
You forgot Virgo.
No, forgot a lot of things. I'm skipping things. I'm going right into Virgo. Thank you. She's my secretary, and she does a good job. Okay, we're now in Virgo. Forgive me, virgins. Okay, virgins. Man, is this an intriguing sign? Pluto in the 6th, which is their house to begin with, and Saturn in the 7th. So I don't think this is going to be too bad at all, because Virgos are 6th house people. The 6th house people are getting ready to become 7th house people. They're getting ready to go to the prom. They're getting ready to go meet people. They're getting ready to get themselves together, shine up everything. No more excuses. Be tough. I mean, this is Pluto there. I like this very much. I think it's going to be very, very good for Virgos. The only problem with it, a minor problem, is Virgo is a solitary sign. It really is. It really works best by itself. It wants to work behind the curtains. And we got a Rick Tempe raising his hand.
What do you think about medical research getting advances right now with the partnership of Saturn and Pisces and the explosive Pluto transformation?
Oh, I think it's excellent.
AI.
Oh, I think it's just excellent.
That's
that's very encouraging, and that's very, very good. You're not going to get much friction from Virgos with Pluto there. Yeah, I like that, Rick. Thank you very much. That's very good. But the point is, what does Virgo do? Virgo takes what you got. Nobody whine about everything. Let's shine it up. Let's fix it, because we're going to go to the ball and show everybody it should be nice and shiny. And that's what's going to happen when Pluto's there. And whether there's a bunch of people there or one person there, Virgos don't matter. Virgos are fine with a bunch of people. They're fine with one or two. This should work out really well, I think, along with what incidentals that Rick was adding there, which is very good. Now, take another look here, how the Virgos are inheriting Saturn in Pisces in the 7th. Now, I told you the 7th has a lot to do with what type of counselor you're changing into. Saturn in Pisces means you're becoming a more sensitive agent than the strict stereotypical Virgo. Saturn in Pisces, Pisces is always the answer to Virgo problems, because Virgo problems are always from excluding and making things tight and rigid and nervous. And Pisces is always about relaxing, letting it go. So I think this could be a very nice combination for all Virgos. This is one of the most positive I've seen since we were back in Taurus. I think so. All right, we're going to move along because we want to get some time for our friend tonight. Now we're going to go to Libra. Okay.
I'm not getting the visuals. Is anyone else having that problem?
Well,
I don't see the charts.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I've got
I see you, but not the charts.
I'm glad you're saying it, because now you do.
No.
You see, I've got a monitor
I
on.
can see them.
I've got a monitor
I
on all of you, and I can see the Saturn in the 6th house now. Do you all see
I've been
Saturn?
seeing it the whole time.
We can see it.
All
I've
right.
seen it the whole
I'm
time.
gonna close out and then come back in, see if that helps.
Yeah, I'm sorry, honey. I'm not sure what's causing that. According to my monitor, you should be all right. Go out and come back in. Okay, now we're talking about. Did I say that right? Yeah, because Aries is now with Libra. Okay. So with the Libra personnel, Pluto is going to shift into their 5th house in Aquarius. Now, I think Pluto does fine. I think Libra does fine with Aquarius. Very intellectual conversations. I think they mix very well. When the 5th house is involved, remember the 5th house is an odd numbered house, and so is the Libra house. So that's another sign of blending. The 5th house is get things off your chest. Say what you got to say. Express yourself. Don't be shy. Be out there. Go on stage. Say what you got to say. And I don't think that's much of a problem for Libras. Some Libras don't like that. A lot of Libras do really well. Libras are really good socially. They're just really, really talented socially. So I think this is a very good placement for Libra, with Pluto going through their 5th. I don't think it's going to become much of a problem. Now, I would like to go back. How are you seeing things now, Deborah?
I think
Okay, I
she
got it
went
now.
in.
Okay.
Ah, yes.
Are you seeing Saturn in the 6th?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Saturn in Pisces in the 6th. That's going to be a little bit of a test for Libras. Okay. Saturn in Pisces, anything Piscean does not jive well with Pisces, with Libra. It just doesn't. Libra is the higher octave of Aries. Libra is the Aries of the 2nd half of the zodiac. Libra does not understand the non-self, unless they are Timothy Leary. And that's a different size of Neptune. Okay, what is Saturn in Pisces trying to do? Saturn in Pisces is trying to make you work for the underprivileged. It's trying to make you help. It's trying to help you develop social skills that will be marketable. which Libra's all for that because Libra's constantly educating itself. So I think that that part of Libra's going to do okay. Libras love to improve themselves, and you usually don't see Libras at college wasting their time. They usually take stuff they're going to need and they put it to work. But where the struggle is going to come into play is with the Pisces energy, because it's just not Libra's nature to think about the all and the oneness. Libra's nature is very much about playing the social strategy game and coming out on top. They're social winners. They can become very selfless. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think this is rather minor. But I do want to move on, keep heading towards Sean. Okay, now we're going to get to Scorpio. And now Scorpio becomes on the first house. You see it, Deborah?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now what do we have with Scorpio? It's getting intriguing now because now Pluto's at the base of the chart. Remember, the base of the chart. Everything in astrology is based on the 4 angles, as he exaggerates greatly. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what astrology is about, the 4 angles. Now, when you're looking at Pluto at the base of the chart, and I have so many clients come to me when Pluto is going over the base of the chart. The base of the chart is what the Statue of Liberty is standing on, the platform. And if that platform is not strong, you can't keep building through the years because that platform will start crumbling. So almost everybody that has transits of Pluto or Saturn over the base of the chart is going through a crumbling of somewhat of their base, of their past, of their family, of their reputation. What is the 4th house? Your family, your property, your traditions. And what usually happens when big planets go over the bottom is you've got to rebuild. You've got to bring in the jackhammers. You got to get the junk out and pour in new concrete and new rebar and all that, because your next X number of years are going to be based on being on top of that weight. All that weight's going to have to be held up by that new platform. This is very critical. Family relationships have to get fixed. If you're tired of your family always treating you one way and you want them to treat you more like who you are, those things need to come out and surface, because they're going to cause trouble if you suppress them. If you have trouble with money and how money and property and acreage has been split up amongst the family, those things got to get solved. Very, very common with the 4th house that you have to quit your job, move across the country, and take care of mom and dad in their 90s. Very, very common, especially with Saturn. You're doing fine in LA, you got to quit your job, go back and pay your dues karmically to make sure mom and dad get taken care of in their golden years. That's very, very common. Does not mean it has to, but it does mean something's going to come up in that area. Now, if you go with it fine and you help the parents out like they did to you when you were little, then things usually go hunky-dory. The 4th house is your chance to reorient yourself with your past. And we all grow up with a certain story of how we connect to our past. But in most cases, the story is incomplete. It was good for a while. It worked for a while. I'd go down the street, sell my Lebanese uncles and aunts, grandma, go see all the Italians down the street, extended families. Grandma and grandpa stayed with you till they died. It's a whole different world now. A whole different world now. We put them in these homes. So when the fourth house is shaken up, you've got to come to terms with your long series of lineage. Am I carrying on my lineage? What am I doing? And a lot of thought is given to what am I leaving behind? It can be a heavy place. It's no simple place. And it's very common when this place gets hit that you reorganize your priorities and your will and your insurance policies, and you're reorganizing who things are going to, all that, et cetera, et cetera. It has a lot to do with your personal values also. Now with Saturn in your fifth, I don't think Scorpios will have much trouble with this either, because Scorpios are known for being very dedicated to their family. They're very devoted. They're very devoted. Their biggest problem is being over devoted. But with Saturn in the fifth in Pisces, that shows a lot of love towards the children and the grandchildren, and devotion towards them. I don't see much trouble at all with this. So the only problem that will happen is this, and this will happen. If there's somebody in your family circle, and you have to determine this in your own brain, if there's someone in your family circle, i.e. brother, sister, sister-in-law, grandma, all that, if there's somebody that's trying to skip the loo, trying to get out of personal responsibility, trying to get it to where you're taking care of grandma 3 days a week, and they're taking care of them 2 days a week. If there's some kind of inequality like that going on, you got trouble. You got trouble. You got trouble. And it ain't gonna come as a surprise to you. And I don't have the answer for you. Make sense? Any of you see such things? But if somebody's trying to shortcut their way around their responsibilities to the old and the dying, it can be really ugly. I've also seen this where it's really beautiful. With a girlfriend who works in hospice, I've seen her work day after day after day after day with these kind of situations. And some people wash their hands of the family, and some people don't. So it can be a wonderful thing to watch. Okay, let me move on because I want to move towards our friend. Let's get to Sagittarius. Hope this is making sense to you. Okay, now we see Saturn at the bottom, and Sagittarius don't do well with anything Saturn, anything. They just don't do well with Saturn. Pluto's in the third. That's very nice for Sagittarius. That's all about developing intense mind, updating the mental software, bigger, scientific, stronger mental software. Great for Sagittarius. This is wonderful. Saturn in the fourth, not so good. For the reason I just gave you. I don't want to take care of grandma because I got a surfing contest Friday. And I got one next Friday, and I got one the next 6 years on Friday. Well, that doesn't fly when the rest of the family is trying to keep the family together. So Saturn can be very, very tough on Sagittarians in the fourth house. I've had Sagittarians call me. They'll call me. Just put this on full screen because I've had Sagittarius call me and say, "What the hell's going on?" And I know right away what it is. And I'll say, "What's going on?" And they'll say, "Well, everything is just on my back and I just can't get away with it." And I'll go, "Really?" And they'll just go, I say, "Friend, you're dealing with Saturn." And Saturn, usually Mr. Trump, usually you can get away with it with your moon in Sag. But you're not going to get away with it with Saturn there. You're going to have to owe things, come through, do your chores that you owe to your family. And this ain't going to be pretty. Because I've actually had parents drag their 15-year-old, 14-year-old Sagittarians in and try to get me to talk some sense into them. And I worked with them for a while and I go, look, this child does not want to hear what I'm saying. I don't have an answer for you. I just don't have an answer for you. We need to mute somebody is getting a lot of sound coming through. Okay. But that's not to say all Sagittarians are bums, because they're not. They can be really hard workers. They can be very devoted. They can be. It just depends. The Sag energy is funny. If it's not manifested right, it can be really irresponsible. And if it manifests okay, they can be people of great causes and idealistic. So that's what you have to watch out for. Okay, let's move along here. We're getting through them. Oh my goodness, now we're getting to Capricorn. This ain't fair. This ain't fair at all here. Okay, now Pluto for Capricorns, we've had 15 years of it going through the first house. Now it's going through our second house. So the first house was so personal, I can't even begin to tell you. It just shook Capricorns to the nth degree. Now it's going into our house of self-worth and our money. We need to get our money together, our finances together. And in the second house, we need to get our sense of self-worth straight. Not our sense of who we are. That's what it tore up for 15 years. Going through Capricorn, sense of who we are, who we weren't. Now it's all about self-worth and money. Saturn's going into the third, and I don't think there's going to be a problem with that. I think that's the third house is largely self-worth update. It's largely self-worth update in the mind. And if you're spiritually inclined, you shouldn't have much trouble. If you're rigidly past spiritual, do as the church says, stay inside the box, then you're in trouble. Because this Saturn in Pisces is not going to support the old type of dogma thinking. This Saturn in Pisces wants you to start thinking outside the box, more along a quantum field. Okay. Now let's get to the last couple. Aquarius, they get one too. So Aquarius has had Pluto going through their 12th. Now it's in the first. Boy, is that a tough one. Going through the 12th, it was working on you Aquarians for 15 years on your unconscious, on dreams, on unconscious driving forces that you were not completely aware of. You had to get therapy to get things up to the conscious mind so you can become more aware of it. Now that it's shifting into the first house, this is a really good sign. This is like putting the gear shift in your truck. It's putting it in first. Okay, now we can start going. It may not be easy, but now you get a feeling of I'm going forward. Because when these heavyweights go through the 12th, it's not simple because you're forced to contend with your past ghosts and your karma and stuff like that. Saturn in your second house will be working on securing your self-worth and securing your spiritual beliefs, etc. I want to move along here to the last one. The final one is Pisces, of course. Okay, so you Pisces folks have had Pluto going through the 10th. Now you got to go in through the 12th. So this won't be simple for you because you guys don't like to dig up the unconscious mind. No sign gets confused more than Pisces. What I'm going to say to you, and I'm not even going to deal with Saturn here, what I'm going to say to you about the Pluto, because it's so strong here, Pisces people are going to have to stop BSing themselves. You're going to have to start to look at what's what and what ain't. And that's the trouble with Pisces. Because Pisces doesn't want to see anybody hurt. They don't want to see anything untoward. And during this time, these next 20 years, you're going to need to start seeing what is. And it's a really good time for you to consider therapy. Not because you're all messed up, but because you have a tendency to escape. The escape artists are the Pisces. And this is not a time to escape. This is a time with all this heavy stuff going on to face what's real. For instance, many Pisces are the black sheep of the family. I don't know why, they don't deserve it, but many of them get that name and they can't shake it. And many of them believe it, and a lot of them end up having sideways lives with a bottle or with a needle, and they can really get lost because they believe this stuff. It comes from the beautiful fact that Pisces don't have burning desires to do stuff. They don't have it. So people think they're weird. They're not weird. They've just given that up. They want to just float along with however life gives it to them. Go along with the flow of life. And they can end up believing that they're a lost soul because so many people tell them that they're a lost soul. And what they need to do, and I've seen it with many of them, Pisces people usually have 1 or 2 or 3 things in their chart that they need to activate, like a Mars in Leo or a Saturn in Capricorn, a symbol of strength, a symbol of no, I'm not going to be a pushover. But when they start to, I'm not going to be a pushover, they start to feel guilty. And that's where they need the therapist. So what I've said in the book is the one thing the Pisces really needs is more ego. It's the sign of the non-ego, but they need more ego to manage and to get through. If not, they just get walked on. Okay, I'm going to move on now, unless you got questions on this. I'm going to go to Sean, and let's get questions. Yes, Diane.
So I just took a look at my natal chart, and I'm an Aries. And when I was born, Pluto was in my 11th house and Saturn was in my 12th house. Is that going to like reinforce the energy right
Let
now?
me take a look here. Hold on, please. Okay, let's answer her question, then we'll get to Sean. This is Diane's turn. Okay, your question was, what's going to happen with the similarity between what Pluto and Saturn are doing now, given that there's a mirror kind of feeling going on in your natal chart? Usually the answer is no. Okay, let's take a look at Diane's chart. Diane is concerned. This is natural because they're probably sextile to begin with. Okay, your Pluto in your natal chart is in Leo, and it has now moved to Aquarius, which is opposite. It's gone from here to there. Your Saturn is in Sag. It's gone around once. It's gone around twice. It's now up to here. So no, you're not going to have any inference. You're not going to have any issues with this. You are going to have a little bit of a rumble when Saturn starts to square Saturn, but in no way is it related to such broad scale items as we talked about earlier.
So even though Pluto and Saturn are in the same houses now that they were when I was born.
No. They're not in the same house as if you were born. Pluto was in your 11th.
Right, and for Aries, Pluto is in my
A
11th.
solar
right
chart
now.
can't be compared to a natal chart.
Okay,
One has Aries rising. All Aries have Aries rising. A natal chart has a rising sign dependent upon your birth time.
okay,
No, there's no relevance whatsoever. The only relevance at all I see is Saturn is squaring Saturn. And I don't see that as a big deal other than you trying to get your physical life in order right now. Okay. All right, let's get
thank you.
you are welcome. Let's get this turned up. Okay, Sean, thanks for waiting. Okay, I've been waiting to get to this chart because it has several things in it that are very poignant for me to talk about. And we've been waiting about 3 weeks to get to this. Now, you'll notice something extremely significant right off the bat is Saturn in Scorpio opposite the moon. This is not easy. This is very important. This is very strong. And it's the reason you took this life. And it's Saturn opposite the moon is because it's going across the ascendant. Now, you are Pisces. Your Sun and Mercury at the same degree. This Saturn moon and this Mars moon is actually considered a Mars-Saturn moon, sends all of its fighting energy down to Venus and Aquarius. That means that throughout your lifetimes, when you've had past and present, when you've had any difficulty socializing, or I don't want to even say that, when you've had difficulty dealing with your emotions,
You muted yourself, Rick. We can't hear you.
Yeah, I think he's trying to fix it.
okay, here we go. All right. All your life, when this was a problem, you sent your energy down to Venus and Aquarius. And that's not a bad choice, because when you have trouble between the ping-ponging planets, you want to send them somewhere that energy can get expressed instead of to Saturn or to Pluto or to Uranus, where it gets convoluted. You send it to Venus. So what that means is when you're not feeling well is when you're at your friendliest. That's exactly what that means. When he's not feeling well and he's having this inner turmoil, because there's a lot of inner fighting going along with this moon Saturn, he doesn't know how to deal with it exactly because it's not simple. And he's not ready to deal with it till tonight, which is why things were delayed. What does he do? He sends the energy down to Venus and Aquarius. Venus and Aquarius says, go be friendly to people. Go call your friends. Go have your friends. Go get a drink. Go call up your buddies. And that's a nice way to put it. That's a nice output. That's a nice salvage. A nice avenue of expression. Does it make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay. Now, the question is why? That's the hard part. All right. We see Pluto's in the 12th. No big deal. We see Jupiter next to Neptune, 7 degrees. A wonderful sign of spirituality, true spirituality. We see Sun next to Mercury, very kind, nice, loving person. We see the moon is very strong, even though the moon's opposite Saturn. And even though the moon is exalted in Taurus, it's still the moon. And that means that you're very Cancerian. You're very moody, you're very emotional, your moods change, you're family oriented, and Pisces can be that way too. But this is showing me there's really there's some heavy weight going on with your family and you, and it's been going on the whole time. And I think it's time for it to stop. Because I think you wouldn't be here, especially with me fighting to get to your chart. This is a symbol. We're going to find out. This all was caused by you. It wasn't caused by mom or dad or family. This was all from past life. We're gonna dig into this. This is all about what you feel is wrong. Sean, I don't know how you feel, but it's wrong. I
Okay.
don't know how you feel, brother, but it ain't right. Now, I'm not telling you it ain't right. You're telling yourself it ain't right. I don't see any problem at all with what you feel, but your chart is obsessed with I don't feel right with what I feel right about. And this is usually caused at one level from some parent telling you that what you're feeling isn't right, what you're saying isn't right, what you're feeling isn't really what you're feeling. And there's all kind of confusion. And what this leads to, and I'm going to be very blunt with you, what this leads to that we have to take out our incisors and we have to really go operate on this. This leads towards self-hatred. This is a very strong symbol of being way too hard on yourself. Now, it's my opinion, and I don't make judgments. It's my opinion through working through so many people like this. There was absolutely no reason for you to be so hard on yourself. None. But you were, and you have been, and you've been carrying this with you a long time. And there are probably a lot of people around you that are carrying it too. There's probably a lot of blaming going on. And this ain't pretty. And this is time for this stuff to end. Now, what do you think?
Yeah, sounds on point. I'm just trying to figure out in what way am I hard on myself. I mean, I like if there's a specific way you're saying, I could see ways, but I'm just wondering if there's a specific way you're referring to.
Yes, we're going to get to that. And I think
Okay.
this is going to be very good. This is the kind of reading I do every day. These are the kind that make me very joyful because you're going to end up getting liberated from this. This is why you did not get liberated in the past 4 weeks. It wasn't time yet. This is time. This guy has been walking around with an axe. And every time, I'm not kidding you. I'm not going to baby you. Every time
Yeah.
he feels something, he smacks his foot with an axe.
Hmm.
He ain't hitting it with a feather. He's not hitting it with a baseball bat. He's hitting it with something really cruel, and you're very tough on yourself. And it comes from the past life, which we're going to find out now. But what I usually find in this kind of situation, it's simply because you're very spiritual. You've been requiring too much holiness from yourself when it comes to God. Period. That's the problem. Do you know that there are people, I can't remember this city, there are people in Italy that get walled into the wall of the church. They create a cavity in the front of the church, and they put this guy in there voluntarily. I guess he's got a piece of cloth with him and his Bible. Then they wall him in there. He's got a little circle so he can breathe and talk to people. People can hand him food. That's how serious some people can get about their self-flagellation. This is similar. Now, what you're going to find out is that you're really a good guy and you really never needed to do this anyway. And it ain't mom and dad's fault. And I'm not going to spend the time looking at mom and dad's chart because it's going to be similar because it wouldn't line up elsewise. So let's go right to your past life and see. Here it is. All right. What do we see in your past life chart? Okay. We see a well spread out chart. Jupiter's up at the top, indicating that your chart is very based on religion and philosophy. Look at your 12th house, Sun and Scorpio, Mercury, Moon, and Saturn, all in the 12th house, all opposite Pluto and Neptune. Pluto's at 21, Mercury's at 26, the moon is at 24, Saturn is 7 degrees away at 14. Saturn and Neptune are exactly opposite. Okay, this is very simple. I don't even need to look at this anymore. Okay, what this means is, this is my opinion after a lot of work,
Mm.
in your past life, in your series of past lives, I don't know whether you were with a very stern crowd, a very stern village, a stern army, a stern church. I don't know what it was. I don't care what it was. But what matters is not whether it was stern or not. What matters is how you experienced them and how you interpreted it. And you experienced this group as you're nothing but a pile of, you ain't good enough, and you're not working hard enough, and you're not pure enough, and therefore we need to wipe our feet on you.
Hmm.
Now, I'm telling you, that's what you came out of this with. None of it's true. And I'm telling you, it's very, very common. Very common that we come out of things feeling this way. And therefore, anything you feel like it's wrong. So you smack yourself. We feel like they do that. I tried to do that, right? Well, you didn't do that, right? And you can end up being very tough on yourself. So your chart, you came here to this lifetime, I think clearly, you came here to re-experience all this junk for your first half. And now you're at the second half. And the second half is it's time to let it go.
Right, right.
Because ultimately, you're a very kind person, a very loving, giving person. And for whatever reason, we all do this. You got yourself mixed up in a crowd where you said, oh, I'm going to go with God and I'm going to never mess up ever again.
Wow.
And I'm going to kiss his feet all day. And I'm
Wow.
going to give him all my food. And everybody, this drasticness
Hmm.
that nobody can follow through with, that you can only come out guilty. This is how I see it clearly. Now, your response.
I mean, definitely resonating, man. Everything you're saying is pretty much 100. Pretty much 100.
Well, that's what I thought.
Matter of fact, even with the church group and all this stuff, I went through that experience, and.
Okay, you did, because in your past life, you
Yeah.
felt like, I'm going to create my new life. And you made the mistake that we all make. You created this lifetime with these certain types of tests, and you wanted to make sure you failed.
Yeah.
So you would
It
get
happened in
beaten.
the exact same way you said it.
Yeah, but see, here's the reason
Yeah.
you fail. The reason you fail is so you get beat. Why do you,
Right.
why do you want to get beat? Because if you beat yourself, then God won't beat you so bad.
So you said I get beat because if I beat myself, God will beat me bad. Say
No.
that again.
If you beat yourself real bad, then God's going to take mercy on you, and he probably won't beat you.
Okay.
See, that's where the misnomer is
Yeah.
even thinking that he's going to do that to you. He's
Right,
not going
right,
to even
right.
judge you. But it's not all the shit you've been taught.
Yeah, it took me a long time to figure that part out. Yeah.
And you can see how well that blends in with being a Pisces who has no ability to defend themselves. But Pisces is always wrong. I'm always wrong. Put me on the cross. Put me on the cross. I'm always wrong. It's all wrong. It's all a bunch of crap. And it's all dying now in our society. It's dying now. None of those things were true. We could certainly understand how you believe they were true, because the rest of us had something similar. But when I saw that moon opposite Saturn, right across the ascendant, I knew right away what it was about. It was about when I'm nice to myself, I'm cheating. I cannot be nice to myself, because when I'm nice to myself, I can't read right now. When I'm nice to myself, I'm screwing somebody. And that isn't true.
Yeah. And they give you the impression, the world gives you the impression that that's what you're doing.
And get this one,
Mm.
get this one, get this one. It's time for you to end all sentences that start with the world gives you the impression of. They think this of. This person said that. It's
See,
time.
the thing is, Rick.
Wait. It is
Okay,
time
go
for
ahead.
you. There is no thing.
Mm.
It is time for you to stop listening to everybody, including me.
Mm-hmm.
You have a very, very good, strong heart.
Mm.
You went through hell to pay for it because you thought you had to. And this is what's happening to the planet right now. We're all shifting. We're all shifting. Hey, we don't have to treat ourselves like shit anymore. That's what's happening. And what's going to happen, without a doubt, you're going to end up being a preacher. There's no doubt. Because you're going to help people get away from the same self-flagellation. Go ahead.
No, man, I'm just listening to you now.
Let
That
it
already
sink-
passed.
let it
You
sink in.
answered the question.
Let it sink in. That's all right. Let's hear from Rick.
Mhm.
Rick has billions of ideas.
Yeah, one thing I'm going to say is the Libra sign focus in the 12th house with that Saturn would tell me that your pair bonding relationships would have definitely suffered through this, and you would have played out a lot of your conflicts through those relationships with other. Does that make can you see how some of that got messed up in there?
Yeah. Just repeat that again. Let me hear that part.
So a lot of that difficulty with your thinking
Right.
played itself out with your pair bonding relationships,
Peer bonding, like what?
your life
You know,
partners that you were
like,
choosing.
okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
See,
It would have been all messed up.
now the good thing, this is mind-blowing, this one. Ready for this? Now you go to your parents and your family and give them a great big smile and open your arms and tell them that you love them.
Mm-hmm.
And tell them there aren't any strings attached. Tell them it's over with. Tell them, if I can help you with yours, I'll help you with yours, but I'm done with mine. I'm done with it.
Mm-hmm.
And now, the only reason that you would differ from me and continue on a path of this is just by habit. You're just used to it. But there's nobody in the world that wants you to beat yourself. There is no devil that wants you to beat yourself unless you get yourself deceived. There's no God that wants you to beat yourself. You've been given the platform here tonight to liberate yourself. That's my opinion. And I see tons of people going through the same thing as you. Now, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes sense.
What happened? What happened when you were growing up and you felt something, X, Y, Z, and then you said to yourself, oh, I can't feel that way. That's not right. How did that manifest?
All right. Hopefully this is the answer to the question you're asking. Well, it took a long time for me to start talking, but I always was on point. I knew what they were saying and everything, you know. But then I didn't really get along with my father much. But it's not that it was too bad. It wasn't anything too crazy. But I don't remember what age, maybe age 6, 7. You know, we came home and he moved everything, took my bed, everything, all the furniture out the house, and just left me and my mother. But I didn't take it hard. Actually, my mother took it hard, and then she's a Pisces as well.
You mean he
So
moved he moved himself out of the house?
Yeah, he moved himself and my brothers and my sisters. So he just left me and my mother. But they were half brother and half sister, on his side, not the same mother. So so they moved out, and then he died. I was at school, the principal, this was grade 6. The principal said, "Hey, isn't this your father in the newspaper? Isn't his funeral today? How comes you're not there?" But it didn't really affect me, so I tried to play it off like, oh, my mother didn't tell me, just acting silly like a kid. So I don't know if that have something to do with it, but that was always something I kind of,
Well, sure it did. Sure it did.
Yeah.
But what I'm telling you now, this is
Mm.
very difficult during a Pluto time. You are in the
Mm.
midst of a big leap. You're taking
right.
a big leap. Okay?
Mhm.
The old you ain't around anymore. He's gone.
Right.
And it's going to be very tempting. It's going to be very
Mm.
tempting when you want reassurance to go back. You can't.
Mm.
Can't do it. See,
I'll also
that's
add
the Pluto time right now.
Saturn has its first square at 7 years old.
Mm.
You're getting introduced to your first taste of a karmic lesson.
And a
in
father,
something.
right?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's very, very good news, Sean. And I've done enough of this now to become sure of myself. At first, I had to kind of be kind of careful, but that's what it is. This is nobody else doing it to you, but they made it easy for you to believe this crap about yourself. And what I
Right.
see in your chart now, with all the Jupiter, Neptune, and the Saturn and Pisces, is you've got a really nice, beautiful path ahead where you can start drifting up like a Pisces should.
Yeah,
Pisces
I left all
Pisces
of
need
that.
to drift, left alone and drift. So let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
What is it that you want to do?
In what sense?
Sean,
Remember, you're talking to a
Sean.
Pisces, Rick.
I don't care who I'm talking to.
Yeah.
What is it that Sean wants to do?
Honestly, man, it has to do with people. I just want to show them that they're taking things too serious in a sense, and I just want to help in a sense, and I can't explain it. Yeah.
Applause, everybody.
Yeah.
I'm done with you, Sean.
Mm.
The videotape will be up on YouTube tonight. I knew you were ready for this. I knew something was delaying it. I know this will not be easy, but you've got a tough SOB in you somewhere. I don't know where it is, but he's a tough son of a bitch. He's
Mhm.
tough for that Saturn moon. He don't take stuff, and you've been nice too long.
Yeah.
Nah,
That's what when I interrupted you the
no,
first
no.
time, that's what I was trying to tell you. That
Yeah.
the reason why is because I don't want to show a different side. I don't want to because I don't know what I'll do, because I know I have that in me.
Oh, if
So
you
I'm
say
trying to
something bad, people might say
Yeah.
something bad about you.
Say that again.
It's time to stop it, Sean. Be non-nice if you have to. It's only going to
Oh.
last 4 minutes. Then you can be nice again because you got this really nice side to you.
Right.
The only non-nice side is how you've been treating yourself. And we're
Mhm.
all clapping because you're done with it. And congratulations.
All right.
I got a smile out of you. See that?
Yeah, man, definitely.
Well, we're very happy for you, Sean. And
Thank you very much.
I'm very sincere, and you are welcome, and the best from all of us.
Yeah, man. Thank
See
you.
you all next week.
All right.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks, Sean.
No
Thanks,
problem.
everybody.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you,
Many
Sean.
blessings.
All right.